Wise man said, if it doesn't matter where you're going, it matters very little which road you take. And the long road begins with the very first step. The Marines, the few, the proud, will tell you on their official website that there is no room in our ranks for those who fall behind. And only 23% of age-eligible Americans are even qualified to begin uniformed military service as just an infantryman in the Marines or the Army, while less than 1% of Americans at any given time are even inclined to do so, and may give you any number of reasons why they have not done so in their choice. But most often you will hear them say that the military lifestyle simply was not a good fit for them in reaffirmation of their choice. Hello, my name is Major Mike Well, which, as the title suggests, I am a veteran, and for 2 decades my job in the military primarily focused on 2 primary mission objectives: force projection and force protection, in a variety of operating environments, from special operations and echelon above core strategic counterintelligence to conventional tactical maneuver units, and even basic training in uniformed service on active duty, in the reserve component force, and in the National Guards. At least my lay opinion, rationally based on boots on ground and eyes on the objective perception, but not based on scientific, technical, or other specialized knowledge, is that to the extent that military training is essentially leadership training for those who want to be leaders, there is a benefit to be accrued from this commitment to this type of public service that would extend to other endeavors in life and could enhance a professional career beyond one's time served in uniform. And many do use it for that purpose. But again, that would only be my unique opinion, and there may therefore be some imported bias. Specifically, for an example, just as a soldier completing initial entry training must be proficient in the basic map reading and dead reckoning skills, a new second lieutenant must have mastered map reading and land navigation skills, and have an aptitude for dead reckoning and terrain association in what are collectively described often as soldier common tasks performed by every soldier regardless of specialty area of assignment. Dead reckoning is easy to teach and to learn, and it can be a highly accurate way of moving from one physical point to another if done carefully over short distances, even where few external cues are present to guide your movements. One reason military regulations dictate this mission priority for training is because while the technique of moving by terrain association or using factors in your environment, landmarks, is more forgiving of mistakes and far less time-consuming than dead reckoning, where some level of familiarity with terrain is present, and understanding of fundamental techniques of dead reckoning or field expedient methods is a basic survival skill, and we all want to survive, hopefully, which requires watching your compass reading, ability to plot points on a map, designating your location and where you want to be, and not just dreaming, and thereby providing a template for a methodical process that is reasonably calculated to optimize your chances for success, typically called a plan, or in the alternative, if such is your preference, you can simply just do anything you want and hope or pray that that works, which, at least in my lay opinion, does not sound like a rational process and suggests a rejection of even basic scientific principles. With this thought in mind, some, at least early in the pandemic, had expressed an aspiration that a shared experience in the recent global public health crisis might impart some lessons learned in institutional knowledge to be better prepared for the pandemic next time, as these rather cyclical events have tended to recur around every 2 decades since the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, albeit with less publicity and societal impact than the present one, for whatever reason. And you are, of course, welcome to your opinion on that fact. Yet we, plural of I, have been a nation divided during pandemic, finding months of discord about the coronavirus epidemic having transformed just the cloth mask into a potent political symbol, touted by Democrats as a key part of communal responsibility, labeled by some GOP leaders as a sign of government overreach and as a scarlet letter penned on the weak, none having anything to do with whether or not they work or not, while it is axiomatic that a house divided against itself cannot stand. And that's just common sense. To which, globally, as of 19 December 2023, there have been 772,838,745 confirmed cases of COVID-19, including 6,988,679 deaths reported to the WHO. And as of 26 November 2023, a total of 13,595,721,080 vaccine doses have been administered. A lot of drugs. Many think globally, act locally. And according to the president, we, plural of I, were hit with a virus that was met with silence and spread unchecked. Denials for days, weeks, then months that led to more deaths, more infections, more stress, and more loneliness. Definitely an observation of the situation in terms of what was seen from the view in the White House. Today, the CDC has attributed to COVID-19 infections the hospitalization of 6,568,418 Americans, contributing to 1,159,864 deaths. And for probably most Americans, whether they believe this arose from a natural spillover or an escape from a lab, most would probably agree with the perspective of the president on the first anniversary that, like victims, not victors, we were hit with a virus that was met with silence and spread unchecked. And it's never nice to have a little virus kick your butt. And science supports the suggestion that an orientation towards a challenge imports a perspective, like a dominant preference in direction will import a natural drift, even in land navigation, left or right or alternating, which requires periodic correction. And it stands to reason that someone who was hit, as we plural of I apparently were, must defend in a reactive posture, while someone who attacks is probably being proactive, at least in the military, and has some advantages enjoyed in offensive operations, if only favored by the element of a surprise. And prior planning as well, a principle of war even discussed by strategists like Sun Tzu centuries ago, who had believed that all war is based upon deception. And even several notable evolutionary biologists, including Eddie Holmes and Christian Anderson, have warned that failure to comprehensively investigate the zoonotic origin through collaborative and carefully coordinated studies would leave the world vulnerable to future pandemics arising from the same human activities that have repeatedly put us on collision course with novel viruses, which may be still lurking out there. There may be a creature somehow in that path between Yunnan, where the Rachi 13 is normally circulating as a reservoir, and Wuhan. There may be pregnant coronavirus strains that are just waiting to burst off and cause other pandemics, if this is how this virus had evolved. While the WHO director had stated that we, plural of I, underestimate this virus and our, plural of I, own peril, or my. According to former CDC Director Rochelle Walensky, this virus isn't stupid, but human behavior in this pandemic hasn't served us very well. And this virus, a single strand of RNA, lacking any sentient capacity or thought like yourself, even Dr. Anthony Fauci has admitted has fooled us, plural of I, before. And you look like an intelligent person. This message was approved by Major Mike Webb. Honest.